Most travelers think a visa photo is just a passport photo. You just take a clear picture, upload it, and move on. And honestly, that's exactly why so many Vietnam visa applications get rejected without warning. Everything else can be correct: your passport, your travel dates, your payment, and the application still fails because of the photo. There's no clear explanation, no detailed feedback, just a request to resubmit, or even worse, a delay that hits just days before your flight. The problem is that Vietnam visa photos follow rules most travelers don't even realize they're breaking. It's not the obvious size requirements, it's the quiet details almost no one talks about. By the end of this video, you'll understand what actually causes photo-related rejections, why the system flags images that look perfectly fine, and how to avoid unnecessary resubmissions, extra fees, and that last-minute stress that can totally derail an otherwise well-planned trip. 1. Passport photo assumption. This is where most travelers feel confident, and honestly, that's the problem. A lot of people just assume Vietnam accepts the same photo standards as the US or Europe, so they reuse an old passport photo, a previous visa photo, or even a cropped ID picture. It looks official. It worked before. And in most countries, that's usually enough. But in reality, Vietnam visa photos are reviewed way more strictly than travelers expect. A photo that was accepted for another country, or even your current passport, can still be rejected here. When that happens, the message is often super vague. Photo not suitable. No explanation, no guidance on what actually needs fixing. What works better is treating the Vietnam visa photo as its own requirement, not just a reusable asset. Use a fresh photo taken specifically for this application, following Vietnam's exact expectations, instead of assuming international standards apply. The rules are similar on paper, but enforcement is tighter in practice, and those small differences are enough to trigger a rejection. But this isn't the only detail that quietly causes problems. 2. Background color isn't as flexible as people think. This really catches a lot of travelers off guard, because the rule sounds simple. Most Vietnam visa guidelines say white or light background, so people take photos against an off-white wall, a light gray backdrop, or, honestly, just whatever flat surface they have nearby. Sometimes there's a faint shadow. Sometimes the wall has texture. The photo still looks clean, and it's even been accepted for other visas. But for Vietnam, this is where a lot of applications quietly fail. Travelers often report that a photo accepted by another country gets rejected here, with no further explanation. The system doesn't see light enough. It sees uneven color, shadows, or background noise that doesn't meet its internal checks. What actually works better is a flat, pure white background. No shadows, no gradients, and no visible texture at all. Not almost white. Not close enough. A clean, evenly lit white surface really does make a difference. This is one of those small details that seems picky, until it actually delays your visa. And honestly, here's where things get even more technical than most people expect. 3. Face size and framing issues. Here's the part most people miss, even when they follow the size rules perfectly. A lot of travelers upload a photo that meets the required dimensions in pixels or centimeters, then just assume everything is fine. The problem is how that image was created. Often it's a wider photo that gets cropped later to fit the size requirement. On paper, it's correct. In practice, the face ends up too small or too large within the frame. Vietnam's system doesn't just check the overall image size, it also evaluates facial proportions. If your head takes up too little space, or nearly fills the entire frame, the photo can be flagged automatically. When that happens, the rejection message rarely explains why, just that the photo doesn't meet requirements. What works better is taking the photo with the correct framing from the very start. Your head and shoulders should be positioned properly before any cropping happens. When the face-to-frame ratio is right at capture, the system is far less likely to reject it. And this is really where acceptable elsewhere starts to mean very little. 4. Glasses, headwear, and usually accepted items. This is where travelers often rely on what's typically allowed, and, honestly, get caught off guard. In lots of countries, glasses are fine as long as there's no glare. Thin frames, clear lenses, everyday eyewear, they often pass without any issue. Some folks also assume that light head coverings won't matter, especially if those were accepted for other visas. But for Vietnam, the outcomes are, well, pretty inconsistent. Some applications get approved, others are rejected, sometimes with no explanation at all. Travelers often say that the same photo works one time and then fails the next. That kind of uncertainty is what really causes headaches. What's probably happening is a mix of automated checks and human review, so borderline cases just don't get the same result every time. The rules might say certain items are allowed, but honestly, in practice, anything that partially covers your face adds risk. The safest thing you can do is simple. Just remove glasses entirely and avoid any headwear unless it's clearly required. This isn't about what might be accepted. It's about reducing your rejection chances when the system gives you, well, no second chances. And this is the point where image quality starts to matter more than most people realize. 5. Lighting and image quality. Here's where modern smartphones can actually work against travelers. People tend to think that a high-res phone guarantees a good Visa photo. The image looks sharp, colors are vibrant, everything seems clear on the screen. But phones automatically adjust lighting, smooth your skin, and boost contrast, often without you even noticing. Overexposure can wash out important facial details. Beauty modes, even subtle ones, change skin texture. Filters mess with color balance. To a person, the photo looks just fine, but to Vietnam's Visa system, it can look digitally altered or unclear. That's when applications get flagged for poor quality or image manipulation. Another problem is uneven lighting. Bright light from one side creates shadows that might not seem obvious, but actually fail technical checks. Even a slight blur from low indoor lighting can be enough to get your application rejected. What really works better is neutral, even lighting with no enhancements at all. So, turn off beauty modes, avoid filters, and use natural or soft white light from the front. Honestly, a plain, honest image is much safer than a polished one. And this is where technical file details quietly become the next obstacle. 6. File format, size, and upload problems. This is the point where, honestly, a lot of travelers feel totally stuck. The photo looks perfect. It opens just fine on your computer. There's nothing obviously wrong, but the system still rejects it. More often than not, the problem isn't the image itself, but the file behind it. Vietnam's Visa portal has specific requirements for file size, format, and aspect ratio. Photos that are too large, too small, or heavily compressed can trigger automatic rejection. Some phones and apps quietly change aspect ratios when exporting images. Others compress files in ways that actually reduce clarity, even if the photo still looks sharp on screen. The most frustrating part is timing. These rejections often happen after you've paid, forcing you to resubmit and wait again, sometimes just days before your trip. What works better is checking everything before you upload: the correct file format, exact size limits, and unchanged proportions. Avoid screenshots, messaging apps, or social platforms that reprocess images. Always upload the original file, adjusted only to meet the stated requirements. And even when you do all this right, there's still one more detail that can trip people up. 7. Photo age and reuse traps. This is honestly one of the least obvious mistakes because, well, it feels completely logical. A lot of travelers just reuse an older photo and think, I look the same, so it should be fine. Maybe the haircut hasn't changed much. The face looks familiar. And technically, the photo once met all the official standards. But here's the thing. Vietnam's Visa Review compares your photo not just to the rules, but to your current passport and identity details. If the image looks noticeably older, or doesn't visually match your passport photo, it can definitely raise flags. Some travelers only find this out later, during entry screening, when officers take a closer look. There's no clearly stated cutoff like 6 months in bold letters, which honestly just adds to the confusion. But traveler reports suggest that older photos do increase the risk, especially if your appearance has changed, even just a little bit. So, a practical rule is simple. Use a recent photo taken specifically for this application. If your passport photo is several years old, don't reuse it. A fresh, current image reduces both the risk of online rejection and potential issues at the airport. And, this leads directly into another detail most travelers overlook. 8. Inconsistency between photo and passport. This is where a lot of travelers think the hard part is over, but honestly, problems can still show up later. Some Visa photos pass the online system without any issue, yet end up causing confusion at immigration on arrival. The reason is inconsistency. Things like hair length, facial hair, glasses, or just your overall appearance in the visa photo might differ noticeably from your passport photo. Travelers often assume this doesn't matter as long as the visa is approved. But immigration officers don't just look at your documents, they compare faces. When the visa photo and passport photo don't visually align, it can slow things down or trigger extra questions. Now, this doesn't mean you have to look identical, but major differences definitely increase scrutiny. Maybe you have a beard in one photo and not the other, glasses in one but not the other, long hair versus short. These details actually stand out more than travelers expect. What works better is visual consistency. So, when you're taking your visa photo, aim to match your passport photo as closely as possible. No glasses if your passport photo has none, similar hairstyle, similar facial hair. It's a small adjustment that really reduces risk well beyond the application stage. And honestly, this helps explain why Vietnam visa photos feel stricter than they appear on paper. 9. What most YouTube videos don't explain. This is the part most YouTube videos skip, mainly because it just doesn't fit into a simple checklist. Vietnam visa photos feel unpredictable because they're actually reviewed in more than one way. Some applications are filtered by automated systems looking for technical mismatches. Others are checked by human reviewers, who might interpret borderline cases differently. That's why one traveler gets approved with a photo that another traveler gets rejected for. The rejection messages don't really help either. They're usually short and vague, offering no detail about what actually failed. This leaves travelers guessing, resubmitting, and just hoping the next upload works. What matters most is reducing risk, not chasing edge cases. Use a fresh photo, pure white background, no glasses, neutral lighting, correct proportions, exact file specs, and of course, visual consistency with your passport. When the rules feel unclear, the safest path is eliminating anything that could be questioned. Vietnam's system doesn't reward close enough. It rewards simple, clean, and unambiguous photos. And this leads to one final takeaway that can honestly save more time than any checklist. If you remember only one thing from this video, let it be this. Most Vietnam visa problems don't come from big mistakes. They come from small details that just feel harmless at the time. Maybe it's a slightly off background, an old photo that still looks like you, glasses that were fine everywhere else. Each one seems minor, until it costs you days of delay, extra fees, or a last-minute scramble before your flight. This isn't about fear or overthinking. It's about understanding how the system actually works and preparing for it calmly. When you remove unnecessary risk early, the entire process really does become smoother. If you're planning a trip to Vietnam, you'll find more practical, experience-based guidance like this on the channel. A little preparation here can honestly save a lot later.